You've been training for a while, eating well and ticking every single box. And yet, you look exactly the same. You feel like your efforts have all been for nothing and start to wonder if you just have the worst genetics in the world. But what you haven't realized yet, it's not the big obvious mistakes that are holding you back, but those small sneaky ones that have compounded that are keeping you stuck. So let's walk through exactly what those mistakes are with the fixes that you can use today to finally see the results that you've been working so hard for. Let's start with our first most overlooked mistake: relying too much on training to see progress. When you first start lifting, it is so normal to dive headfirst into a training routine and think your only way to progress is to stay consistent on that routine. And I mean, you're not wrong. You do need to train in order to make progress. But training alone isn't going to give you the results that you're after. Your physique is mainly built from two key factors. To change your shape, you need to work out, but to reap the benefit of those workouts and actually see your results, you need to tailor your diet accordingly. Now, this does not mean that you need to start following some crazy strict diet, eat meals at specific times, and follow a very rigid meal plan. It just means setting yourself a clear goal and then eating in accordance to that goal. For example, if you want to lose fat, it makes sense to eat in a calorie deficit, consuming less calories than it takes your body to maintain its current weight on a daily basis. If you want to lose fat and keep building muscle, however, you want to make sure that your deficit makes you lose no more than 0.7% of your body weight each week, which, if you're 150 pounds, roughly equates to around a pound of weight loss each week. But if you simply want to gain muscle and not lose fat, then eating at or slightly above maintenance should be your goal. As a guideline, if you're new to the gym and starting out relatively lean, aim for a 10 to 20% surplus over your maintenance calories. If you're more trained, start at around a 5 to 10% surplus over your maintenance. Even if you're less trained or more trained, start at the more conservative end of the surplus first. Then you can adjust your calories up or down based on how your body is responding. If you're not gaining any size at all or staying exactly the same in the gym strength-wise, then add a little bit more calories. If you're gaining too quickly and noticing that it's mostly fat, you can just scale back your calories. If you don't want to get caught up in tracking every calorie but still want to make progress, just start being more mindful about what you're eating in relation to your goal. If you want to lose fat, start by reducing your portion sizes of higher calorie foods like fats, and then load up your plate more with fruits and veggies. Keep protein high, aiming to build every meal around a protein source, and eat until you're satisfied but not stuffed. On the other hand, if your goal is just to gain size and not lose any weight, then your goal is to do the exact opposite. Start by slightly increasing your portion of carbs or fats at 1 or 2 meals during the day and then see how your body responds. Adjust slowly and let your body give you feedback before you change anything else too soon. Hello, it is Sarah from the future. I must interrupt this very important, spectacular content with a very exciting and important announcement. My cookbook is now live. I know you guys have been waiting a very long time for this one, and Eat Like a Gym Girl is finally finished. I am so excited that you guys finally have one place where you can find all my recipes, including the ones that I have never posted. It has over 110 pages, with each recipe being at least 30 to 50 grams of protein with no protein powder. That was very important for me when making this recipe book, that there was no protein powder, because we all know what happens when I have protein powder. It's packed with step-by-step recipes, flavor variations, and substitutions for all my vegan and vegetarian girlies out there who don't want to eat the meat that's in the recipe. I'll pop a link to it in the top link of my description. Buy it once and it's yours forever. I am so excited to see you guys start cooking and eating like a gym girl. Now, you might be thinking, Sarah, I already know this. I'm eating the right amount to gain muscle or lose fat, and I'm still seeing no progress. Well, that's probably because you're making the second biggest mistake I see: lack of consistency in your eating habits. You can have the most optimal macro balanced meal plan out there, but if you're only sticking to it 3 days out of 7, well, inconsistent adherence leads to inconsistent progress. For example, example, if you stick to your deficit Monday to Friday, but on Saturday and Sunday you're eating an extra 400 calories each day, that's an extra 800 calories you're eating during the week, which can completely cancel out at least a few days of your deficit. So even though it does feel like you're dieting the majority of the time, your net weekly deficit isn't low enough for you to see progress. The main reason that you can't adhere to your diet is because it was too restrictive in the first place. When you first start your fitness journey and get serious about your goals, it's very easy to get overzealous and go a bit too extreme. But if your plan doesn't work in the context of your real life, you won't stick to it. You don't need to follow one specific diet or have the picture perfect meal plan. You just need to pick one that you can stick to consistently. Now, that also doesn't mean eat whatever you want as long as it fits your calories. You still need to give your body the nutrients it needs to build muscle, recover, and feel good. So here is exactly what I would recommend based on what works in research and in the context of real life. First, aim for around 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight, spaced as evenly as you can across your meals. Second, pair your protein with good quality fats and carbs, not just for performance, but for flavor and fullness too. Third, load up your meals with fruits and veggies for volume, fiber, and nutrients. Once you've got those three key things nailed, you can work in those other foods that you enjoy, just in moderation. The most important thing is, yes, that you're staying within your calorie goal, but you're also feeding your body with the foods that you know is going to make it feel its best as well as make progress. Once you fix those main mistakes in your diet, you're already 80% of the way to making progress. But there won't be much progress to show for it if you're still making our next mistake, being dishonest in your efforts. Training really works like compound interest. What you do consistently is what you're going to see the results of. So take a real look at your last week of training. How many sessions actually went to plan? How many exercises did you accidentally skip? Did you push close to failure? And did you increase the weight when you knew you could? You might be thinking, yeah, so what? Last week wasn't great. It's only 1 week. Well, zoom out. What does your training look like from the past month? 3 months? 6 months? How often were you truly sticking to your plan? How often were you actually getting the most out of each session? I am very guilty of this myself, skipping an exercise here or there and thinking it's completely harmless. Then I'll get annoyed the next time I come and do that exercise because my strength has dropped, only to realize I haven't actually trained that muscle group properly in weeks. The main solution to this problem is simply just designing a plan that you know that you'll be able to stick to. Look at your current plan and be very honest with yourself at where it isn't working. If time is your biggest barrier, then scale back your workouts. This could mean doing 3 workouts per week instead of 6 with less exercises per session. Now, you might think that that's going to slow your progress, but if you weren't working out consistently 6 days a week to begin with, you were already slowing your progress. It honestly doesn't matter how your plan looks, it just matters that you're ticking the boxes needed to grow muscle. That's what's going to compound into giving you the most progress. Now, following this mistake is actually one that all too many of us do, advanced and beginner trainees alike: adding weight too soon. When you think of building muscle, you probably think of progressive overload, adding weight or reps every single session. But that is not actually quite how progressive overload works. Muscle growth mainly happens from mechanical tension during your workout and adaptation following that workout. If you add too much weight before that adaptation happens, your form will fall apart because it's too heavy. This means the target muscle does less work and you end up just ego lifting. I say this as someone who added 5 kilos to her barbell bent over rows every single time she trained them when she first started lifting, and ended up nearly snapping her back doing 60 kilo barbell rows. And this is because progressive overload isn't something that you can actually force on a weekly basis, but something that happens naturally as your body adapts over time. So how do we track progressive overload if it's not by forcing weight or reps each week? Well, I prefer to track it using a rep range like 6 to 8. Start by picking a weight that you can lift for 6 reps at around 1 to 2 reps shy of failure. Over the next few weeks, aim to keep your form and effort relatively consistent and let your strength naturally push you up the range. Once you can hit 8 clean reps, bump your weight up by around 10%, drop back down to 6 reps and repeat the cycle. This will make sure your progress is steady, safe, and sustainable. Trust me, no one cares how much you're lifting, especially if it looks like your spine is about to snap in two. So now we know that progress comes from training and then allowing your body to adapt to that training. One mistake that can seriously get in the way of this adaptation is doing too much. This sounds stupid because surely the more you do, the more you grow. But the truth is, especially as you do get more advanced, there is a limit to how much you can adapt to before you train again. Some exercises just take longer to recover from than others, and factors like nutrition, sleep, the other exercises that you're doing out with the gym, and daily stressors of life all impact how well you adapt and recover from your previous training session. For that reason, your goal in the gym shouldn't be to do as much as humanly possible in order to grow, but do enough to stimulate growth but also be able to recover from before you come and train that muscle group again. In your sessions, start by simply doing 1 to 3 exercises per muscle group at 4 to 6 total exercises per workout, all around 2 to 3 sets each. You can scale this up or down based on how your body responds, but you do not need to spend hours and hours in the gym to grow. Take a rest day every 2 or 3 days and even take a double rest day where and when you need it. Progress is all about working with your body, training hard enough to grow, but not so hard that you burn out. Drawing from this idea of burnout comes our next mistake, being unrealistic. When you first start out, it's normal to feel frustrated that you're not seeing progress right away, especially when you're nailing everything and staying consistent. But the truth is, progress takes time, especially as a beginner. It's true that beginners build muscle quickly right at the start, but understanding how to nail the basics of muscle building takes time to understand, which in turn influences how quickly you're going to see results. And even if you do have all of those factors nailed, your genetics and your background in other sports also influence how quickly you see results. So instead of checking to see if your glutes have blown up overnight, set yourself a more realistic timeline of around 3 to 6 months. It has taken me at least 4 years to get to where I am today, so don't feel upset or frustrated when you don't have the legs of your favorite influencer if you've only been working out for a week. In the meantime, simply focus on getting that little bit better or a little bit more consistent each day. Get through your workouts, aim to put in 100% in most sessions, and stick to your calorie goals as much as you can on a daily basis. After all, small progress is still progress. Honestly, your fitness journey is lifelong. Mistakes will be made, but thankfully nothing is set in stone that can't be changed later down the line. I hope this video helped you guys understand a little bit more how things were affecting your progress. Please let me know down below if you enjoyed, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're down there and join us Pookies. Hopefully I will catch you guys in my next one.